Okay, so this is Jim Powell, trying to record my thoughts. A couple of thoughts on the Dan Carlin episode talking about raising wages within the U.S. A couple of questions I had were, one of them was regarding, he said he wanted an average wage in the U.S. or to make a respectable middle class wage would be $80,000. But at the same time, he said that the middle class is overpaid, so that didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. His whole point of trying to raise the middle class income or raise income in the U.S., the best way to do that was, presumably it sounded like by ending our treaties with like NAFTA or NATO and those types of trade agreements in order to bring back jobs. As he put it, he's an economic nationalist, so that would bring back jobs, but all those jobs were low-income type pay. So I don't understand how bringing low-income, your typical low-income jobs back to the U.S. would somehow increase the overall income amongst the people. It would just bring, more illegal immigrants or more people who are already getting paid low incomes to the U.S. So yeah, it would give more jobs, but like you were saying, the good jobs. So it brings up another question of, well, what exactly is a good job in the competing world? We've switched from a manufacturing company to a company or a country that uses services, and it seems like the next wave of economic prosperity was hinging upon intellectual property rights, content providers, those types of people. But then you've hit major walls in terms of how exactly you come up with how you even make money in those types of services, because as you know, in the digital world, everything can either be pirated or taken away. But at the same time, being in IT, we don't want to how do you create copyright laws that would support the little people when most of the time those copyrights are, abused and used and abused by major corporations? I mean, all the patent trolls out there, those aren't being used by small companies or by small people. Small people can't get patents or copyrights in order to have the legal power, the leg power, the knowledge power to do that kind of thing. If your primary purpose is just to develop, good content or a good product. My next thought was, as far as like what kind of quality product would be the next thing that we could produce in our country. It would apart from just the intellectual property and content, since that seems to be so difficult. It kind of seems like development of small applications that not just about anybody, but I mean, there are people that, if you were to look at the next cutting edge thing of small niche products that individuals can make, would be in the application front, where individuals can create small applications and sell it for, a small amount, even if it's first for $1, but if you sell 1 million of them, then you just made $1 million. It seems like that would be the next potential market, I guess that would come up that, our country could provide. But even still, you still face all the other issues that I had just, mentioned earlier about copyright infringements, patents, and all this kind of stuff. So there is that issue that people can just kind of steal your ideas and, basically wouldn't make as much money off of it, because someone else bigger than you, who has a better marketing firm, can basically steal your product and, sell your product and you get nothing from it. So that's one aspect of it. And since I also serve in IT, one of the other questions, that I have is, should we even end this whole capitalist model? I mean, at some point it seems like it's going to have to end at some point, as we continue to make progressions in automation. It would seem like that we're just going to have to end in that kind of model. I mean, there was a quote supposedly by Ross Perot that the great sucking sound that we heard of jobs exiting the country was not because of the treaties such as NAFTA and NATO and those kinds of other trade agreements of outsourcing our small jobs, was because it was actually of automation, our increases in productivity that drove out all these jobs, and that we just don't know what else to produce or what we can produce that we can actually sell and transfer in form of money that people would want. How do we create? I mean, because this one we're talking about jobs is how do we create means of which we can fairly distribute money, which is just a means of transferring services and products and those kinds of things. So it's kind of, I guess that's why I kind of lean more towards, at some point we'll have to have some sort of socialist type system, because as we, especially once we get much greater strides in artificial intelligence or robotics, when the day comes when you can create a robot that is more intelligent than a human and that is more is more capable of tirelessly, ergonomically, doing the same process over and over again, and then you've just destroyed the service and the manufacturing-based economies, agricultural, all those things, all those industries are gone. And then what do you do? I mean, even the intellectuals one, if you have true AI, then that, as fast as we're growing in that, I mean, we're talking about 20 to 50 years, that's a very strong possibility that will be here. What the heck are we going to do? So I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like we need to start, I would see the model of trying to just get any type of jobs in the U.S. as a small stepping stone, but I think we've got bigger problems to think about in the future of, how we view economics, and basically, when I'm defining economics at that point, is the fair distribution of services, materials, and products within our country in an ever-growing world where our resources are vastly running out quickly, especially as this growth mentality of the world growing at an exponential rate. So I know it's a whole lot of ideas trying to capture it in one short video segment, but those are the thoughts that were running through my head while I was listening to Dan Carlin's podcast. Thanks for listening.